Today, we're diving into a fascinating and honestly, highly misunderstood topic. We're looking at the research-backed psychology behind why some people just completely opt out of modern dating culture. I mean, if you rarely go on dates, you've probably noticed society has a lot of opinions about you. But hey, let's look at what the actual research has to say about it.
Let's just address the elephant in the room right away, shall we? Are you broken? Because dating culture is so intensely normalized everywhere you look, if you decide to just opt out, people immediately jump to some pretty wild conclusions. You know the drill. You must have commitment issues. You must be absolutely terrified of intimacy. You must be hiding from the world. It's an exhausting and, frankly, completely unfair assumption.
But here's the thing. There is a massive divide between what society assumes and what psychological reality actually is. Society thinks avoiding dates means you're scared or broken. But when we look at the research in social psychology, it reveals a completely different story. Instead of being broken, opting out often points to incredibly intentional life choices, immense emotional maturity, or sometimes a very legitimate, specific form of anxiety. It's a literal paradigm shift.
So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to dismantle the broken dating myth, look into this concept called integrated autonomy, explore why people reject the volume model of dating, tackle dating-specific social anxiety, and finally redefine what true fulfillment actually looks like.
All right, jumping right in with number 1, the broken dating myth. Let's completely dismantle this idea that avoiding dates means something is fundamentally missing from your life. There is this incredibly powerful realization among non-daters, and it goes like this. You're not avoiding dates because you're incomplete. You're avoiding them because you're already whole. Just let that sit there for a second. Researchers have actually found that people who don't date often have deeply fulfilling lives. We're talking meaningful friendships, exciting hobbies, and peaceful routines that just aren't worth disrupting. For them, dating isn't some missing puzzle piece you desperately need to find. It's just an optional addition.
Moving on to number 2, achieving integrated autonomy. This frames not dating as a marker of exceptionally high self-sufficiency. Psychologists actually have a specific term for this. It's called integrated autonomy. Basically, this is a psychological state where someone has built a complete, carefully constructed life for themselves. You've essentially achieved what most people chase their entire lives, which is a true sense of wholeness on your own. So it's not a fear of intimacy at all. It's really just having incredibly high standards for what and exactly who you allow into your carefully curated world. And this brings us to an amazing level of immunity to social pressure. Look, society constantly pushes these mandatory life milestones, right? Friends and family have all these expectations, and dating apps are normalized like they're just a given. But the psychological resistance of the non-dater? That relies on critical thinking and observation. You already know that just being partnered doesn't automatically equal being fulfilled. In fact, research from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships proves that people who intentionally opt out of the societal pressure actually report higher life satisfaction. You absolutely aren't missing out. You're just immune to all that noise.
That brings us to number 3, rejecting the volume model. Let's take a look at something called selective social investment. Modern dating operates almost entirely on what we call the volume model. Swipe more, meet more people, and just endure enough exhausting small talk to literally give yourself carpal tunnel. It can be incredibly shallow. Well, if you don't date, you probably reject this whole approach in favor of selective social investment. You prioritize depth over breadth. You'd way rather have 3 profound, rock-solid friendships than 30 surface-level connections, and you definitely prefer meaningful conversations over awkward small talk with absolute strangers.
Think of it exactly this way. Dating feels like gambling your emotional energy on unknowns, and you're just not interested in those odds. Rejecting dating is definitely not antisocial behavior. In fact, psychologists have found that non-daters actually score higher on measures of relational depth. Your social needs are absolutely 100% being met. They're just not being met through romantic dating, and that is perfectly fine. Shifting gears a bit, here is number 4, dating-specific social anxiety. Because for some folks, avoiding dates isn't just a preference, it's a very specific, vulnerable challenge.
We're talking about dating-specific social anxiety. This is a paralyzing anxiety triggered specifically by the high-pressure, evaluative performance aspect of going on a date. And here's what's absolutely crucial to understand. This has nothing to do with lacking general social skills. You might be completely comfortable, even the life of the party, hanging out with your friends, or thriving in low-pressure settings. But formal dates, they trigger a completely different kind of anxiety.
Just think about the evaluative components of a traditional date for a second. If you're even a little shy or introverted, sitting directly across from a total stranger, constantly fearing awkward silences, and worrying about being judged, it can feel completely paralyzing. It feels exactly like a job interview, but for your personality. Research points out that this often stems from perfectionism or past experiences with deep judgment. The main takeaway here? This is not a character flaw. It's a legitimate psychological pattern, and it's exactly why so many people choose to just meet others organically through shared interest instead.
And finally, we arrive at number 5, redefining true human fulfillment by exploring alternative life paths.
If you don't date, you've probably already figured out that society's traditional script simply isn't true for you. Maybe your true fulfillment comes from pouring your energy into your career ambitions, diving into creative projects that actually excite you, traveling, or just cultivating profound, deep friendships. You aren't avoiding romance because you're damaged in some way. You're avoiding it because you have found other things that genuinely fulfill you. In fact, happiness research heavily supports this. People who define fulfillment entirely on their own terms, outside of society's template, report significantly higher overall well-being. You aren't living a half-life, you are living a very complete one.
So, we've walked through these 5 patterns: high self-sufficiency, immunity to social pressure, prioritizing deep connections, dating specific anxiety, and creating a personalized definition of fulfillment. I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. Is your specific pattern a choice to embrace, or is it a challenge you want to overcome? Knowing the actual psychology behind why you do what you do empowers you to take full ownership of your unique path. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer today, and as always, keep asking the big questions.